Hello, here is the news at this hour from T-Solid TV. I am Olaide Amosu. Here are some major headlines. NAPTIP inaugurates task force on human trafficking in Oyo. PDP reps sue Lai Mohammed, AGF, NBC over broadcasting code. The federal government raises panel for 10 billion naira transport palliative allocation. On the foreign scene, Algeria Parliament adopts constitutional reforms. And in sports, HAVERTZ takes over TOMORI'S Chelsea's shirt. Now the news in details. The National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons has yesterday announced the inauguration of the Oyo Task Force on Human Trafficking to sensitize people at the grassroots on the dangers of human trafficking. It was reported that the task force is chaired by the Oyo State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Professor Oyelowo Oyewo. The chairman of the task force said it was the duty of the task force to see to the enforcement of the law on human trafficking. Oyewo, however, said they are going to follow the initiative of NAPTIP in taking steps that will give effect to the enforcement of the law, to the prohibition and combating of human trafficking in the state through the leadership of the Ministry of Justice. Meanwhile, the Oyo State Commissioner for Women Affairs, Alhaja Fausat Soni, said she is elated at the inauguration of the task force to combat human trafficking. The chairman Oyo State Independent Electoral Commission, OISEC, Are Isiaka Olagunju, is said to have harped on the need for citizens of the state to have trust in the state's electoral processes and participate actively in order to experience good governance at local level. He stated this yesterday while featuring on a Yoruba radio program in Ibadan. The board chairman said it was essential to reposition the process of selecting leaders at the local government councils. Hence, the general public must have confidence in the board and turn out en masse during the polls. Olagunju also maintained that the conduct of the commission would be in line with the stipulated laws, with a view to ensuring that the will of the people prevail. He disclosed further that the constitution of the board, despite the pending case of ALGERIA at the Supreme Court, was necessary to ensure proper planning and optimum performance. He explained that the Commission will soon reach out to certain stakeholders such as INEC, religious leaders, traditional leaders, and a host of others to keep them abreast of the plans and programs of the Commission. No fewer than 50 houses and properties worth millions of naira have been submerged and destroyed by flood in Gula ward of Agwara local government area of Niger. The member representing Bogu Agwara Federal Constituency in the National Assembly, Alhaji Jafaru Mohammedi, made this known on Thursday after commiserating with the flood victims. Mohammed, who was accompanied by the Agwara Council Chairman, Alhaji Nura Kokoli, said he would work with the council to cushion the effect of the disaster on the people. He promised to present the report of the flood to the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, on the floor of the House for possible assistance to the victims. Mohammed, who described the incident as pathetic, pledged that the victims would get assistance soon. The legislator and the council chairman then donated the sum of 1 million naira as joint efforts to assist the victims. The People's Democratic Party (PDP) caucus in the House of Representatives has dragged the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, and the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC) before the Federal High Court in Abuja to invalidate the controversial 6th Broadcasting Code. A copy of the originating summons cited by newsmen in Abuja joins Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami as defendant in the suit. The plaintiffs in the suit are caucus leader Kingsley Chinda, his deputy Chukwuma Onyema, caucus deputy whip Ajibola Muraino, Mark Bila, Thoy Robert, Bulu Solomon, amongst others. The Chinda-led PDP caucus is backed by the Uche Secondas-led national leadership of the PDP, but not recognized by the leadership of the House. It claimed to have instituted the case on behalf of themselves individually and as representatives of the PDP caucus in the House of Representatives. In the suits filed on their behalf by Barrister Segun Fiki and Barrister John Mary Chukwasi Jideobi, the lawmakers want the court to determine whether by the provisions of Section 36 of 12 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, the amended 6th Nigerian Broadcasting Code enacted and issued by the first defendants, which created the purported offences of hate speech and fake news and correspondingly purported to have imposed penalties, is not unconstitutional, null and void. They also prayed the courts to declare the amended 6th Nigerian Broadcasting Code unconstitutional, null and void, especially since the said offences and penalties set out in the code have not been defined and or prescribed in any written law by the National Assembly of Nigeria. They are also asking the courts to declare that the second defendant, NBC, is the sole authority statutorily empowered in Nigeria to enact and or issue broadcasting codes throughout the Federation, to the exclusion of the first defendant, and that the first defendant's enactment of the 6th amended Nigerian Broadcasting Code is ultra-vires, unlawful, null, void, and of no effect whatsoever. They also want an order of the court perpetually restraining the first defendant from further enacting or issuing or enforcing any national broadcasting code. The suit, which has not been assigned to any court, is supported by a 15-paragraph affidavit deposed to by one Francis U. Obalim and a written address dated 9 September 2020. The federal government is said to have constituted a committee to draw up guidelines for the disbursement of the 10 billion naira palliative fund for road transport operators and workers. The Minister of State for Transportation, Gbemisola Saraki, disclosed this in Abuja while receiving officials of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, led by their national president, Tajuddin Lawal. Saraki also commended the transport workers for their perseverance during the lockdown, stressing that this was despite the fact that their livelihoods were disrupted. However, in a statement issued yesterday by the Director of Public Relations, Federal Ministry of Transportation, Eric Ojekwe, the minister urged the unions to work towards having one recognized body that the ministry could deal with. This, she said, would ensure that the fund was disbursed as soon as possible, adding that it would be counterproductive to delay the disbursement. The federal government yesterday reportedly flagged off 2 schemes to financially support about 1.7 million micro, small and medium enterprises across the country with 75 billion naira. At a briefing on the flag-off of the National MSME Survival Fund and the Guaranteed Offtake Stimulus Schemes under the Nigeria Economic Sustainability Plan, the Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, Mariam Katagum, said the schemes would impact positively on businesses. The committee, which was chaired by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, comprises several ministers and the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, as well as the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. It was reported that Katagum stated that in keeping to its promise to support businesses overcome the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, the federal government was set to commence nationwide implementation of the 2 MSME initiatives. Moving on to the foreign scene, Algeria's parliament is reported to have adopted draft constitutional reforms, a flagship initiative of President Abdelmadjid Tebboune, aimed at responding to the demands of the country's hierarchy protest movement. It was reported that the amended constitution was approved by 256 of the 462 members present in the People's National Assembly. The reforms will now be put to a referendum on November 1st, the anniversary of the start of Algeria's 1954 to 1962 War of Independence. However, the government is said to have pledged the reforms would bring a radical change in the system of governance, prevent corruption and enshrine social justice and press freedoms in the constitution. Thousands of striking nurses are said to have called off their strike over pay and protective gear, 3 months after walking out of public hospital wards. It was reported that Enoch Dongo, president of the 15,000-member Zimbabwe Nurses Association, said they had decided to end the strike to allow the newly appointed health minister an opportunity to attend to their complaints. However, the country's vice president, retired General Constantino Chiwenga, was last month appointed health minister. He replaced Obadai Moyo, who was sacked after being charged with corruption over the illegal awarding of a $20 million contract for coronavirus testing kits and protective gear. Now in the world of sports, Kai Havertz has reportedly taken the number 29 jersey previously worn by Fikayo Tomori following his $72 million arrival at Chelsea. It was reported that Havertz was asked to take the number 29 shirt upon his arrival at the Stamford Bridge, and Tomori was happy to oblige. It is a favoured number of the Germany international, who also wore the number 29 at Bayer Leverkusen before completing his switch to Stamford Bridge. Meanwhile, Tomori would vacate the number 29 shirt, but the defender is now understood to be in line for another season away on loan, this time with Everton. The 22-year-old fell out of favour under Frank Lampard last season, and Thiago Silva's arrival has bumped him further down the pecking order. Meanwhile, Christian Pulisic is in line to take the number 10 shirt, which is available following Willian's move across London to Arsenal. The member representing Warri Federal Constituency at the Federal House of Representatives, Honourable Thomas Ereyitomi, is said to have commended the President, Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, Mr. Amaju Pinnick, for attracting the Federation of International Football Association, FIFA, to Ugborodu community in Warri Southwest local government area to construct a world-class international standard stadium to host matches in the riverine communities in Delta State. Ereyitomi said that the construction of the international FIFA stadium in Ugborodu will encourage the people's love for the round leather game and give room for more development projects, as well as open up the area to the international community to come watch matches and invest. The lawmaker further stated that the construction of the stadium in Ugborodu will attract tourists, investors in oil and gas sector, and open up opportunity in marine activities. With that, we've come to the end of the news. A recap of the headlines. NAPTIP inaugurates task force on human trafficking in Oyo. PDP reps sue Lai Mohammed, AGF, NBC over broadcasting code. Federal government raises panel for 10 billion naira transport palliative allocation. On the foreign scene, Algeria Parliament adopts constitutional reforms. And in sports, HAVERTZ takes over TOMORI'S Chelsea's shirt. Please do not forget to always adhere to COVID-19 safety measures. The news was compiled by Mobola Badikale. I am Olaide Amosu. Good day and thank you for watching.